What's up, guys? This is your boy E, one part of your technical misfits, and I'd like to welcome you guys to the Stay Teched Up podcast. This is a brand new podcast, and this is something that I've been wanting to do for a really long time, and I just finally decided to jump right into it with the first episode. So here it is. If you guys enjoy the podcast, make sure you share it, make sure you like it, make sure you subscribe to it, make sure you follow the podcast so that way we can get everything going and I can continue to bring you more content. Now, the first thing that we're going to talk about in this episode, or for episode 1, is Samsung Dex. Now, I know a lot of people, and yes, that's Dex, D-E-X. I know a lot of people are wondering, like, what is that? I've never heard of that. And you wouldn't be alone in this process because a lot of people don't know about this feature on Samsung phones. And I think that's partly because Samsung does not do a good job of advertising this particular feature that they built into their phones. So first of all, I'm going to give you a brief description. And keep in mind that this is a total top level broad description. This is not getting into any detail or anything like that. If you guys want to see more detail, I will be making a video on the YouTube channel. Make sure you go check that out. That will break Dex down totally and give you a visual aid of what it's able to do for you. So enough with all of that. Let's jump right into it. Now, Samsung Dex, simple and plain, is a desktop application built into your phone OS, and in this case, built into Android OS. Now, keep in mind, this is not like what you would normally think of. This is not just mirroring the phone onto a screen. This is actually a full separate desktop interface. That's the best way I can describe it. I know if you haven't been following me for a while and you've been following the blog and you've been following the YouTube channel, I have always been a fan of having one device to do everything. And with the prices of phones now, I mean, it's almost getting to the point where you really can only afford one device because phones are getting up to $1,000 and over. Thanks, Apple. Thanks a lot for creating that trend. But it would be great if you had one device, especially when you're paying $1,000 pretty much for a phone now these days. I'm not gonna say a decent phone, but a top of the line flagship phone that you can do more than one thing with this particular device. And Dex pretty much answers that. Basically, how this thing works is if you have a Samsung phone, and I'm gonna go down, or excuse me, not even just a phone, a device. I'm going to go down these devices because there are some pretty old devices that are capable of doing this and with some caveats. But here's the list of devices that you can actually utilize this feature with. So bear with me, I'm going to go down here. You have the Samsung Note 10 Plus, the Samsung Note 10, the Samsung Note 10 5G. You have the S10 and all its variants, plus E, regular S10, 5G. You have the Note 9 that can access this feature. The S9, which is the plus and the regular. The Note 8, the S8 plus and the regular S8, even the S8 active. Then you have the tablets, Samsung Galaxy Tab S6, which is I'm thinking their newest one. Samsung Galaxy Tab S5e, and Samsung Galaxy Tab S4. So you have pretty much about 3 years, maybe even a little bit more than 3 years of devices that can actually access this particular feature. And like I said, the way Dex works is if you have any one of these devices, and if you have the newer devices that have USB Type-C on it, or if you have one of the Note series that has USB Type-C, literally the charger cable that came with your phone, you can take and plug up to a computer, or if you have a monitor, or if you have a docking station that's USB Type-C, you can plug it into the bottom of this phone, and when you connect it to a monitor or your computer, you're introduced to this thing they call Dex. And Dex is an interface. If you ever use Windows, if you've ever used Mac, it's basically a desktop interface, more or less. It's outside of the phone itself. And, well, I wouldn't say outside of the phone, but it's separate from the interface that's on your phone. And it has icons on it. You can manipulate the desktop. You can add apps from your phone. And the great thing about it is it works. Like, it works perfectly. You can use a mouse, a keyboard. You can pretty much turn your phone into a mobile desktop. Now, this is cool for two reasons for me. One, I can have the dream or get closer to the dream of having one device that does absolutely everything. Because let's be honest, if you, 80% of us actually only needs a phone. Apple is, or a mobile device. Apple is selling their iPad Pro, and don't get me wrong, I do have an iPad Pro. I have first generation. I haven't spent the $1,500 or $1,600 on a new one. But if you have one device and you can do 80 to 90% of what you want on one device, being a mobile device, and let's be honest, that's most of us out here, then you don't have to buy a computer. Like, unless you're into really some creative type situations, even if you want to do light photo editing, you can do it from your device. And the great thing about it is everything stays on your device, or you can upload it to the cloud. So let's say, for instance, you want to type up a Word document. And students, listen, because I just went through this with a cousin of mine, and she was debating on whether or not she was going to buy an iPad or a MacBook Pro or whatever for college. But if you have one device that you can simply walk in, plug in a USB Type-C hub, which you can find them all day on Amazon for sub $80, or you can spend as much as $200 if you want to. And this one device is everything. Like, that is phenomenal. Like, and the great thing about Samsung, they give you expandable storage. So even if you buy a phone that's, say, 64 gigs or 128 gigs, you don't have to spend a lot of money on this device to be able to do everything that you want. So paint this picture for you. You walk in, you come in from school or from work or whatever it is that you're doing, and you have a monitor sitting there, nice monitor, and your monitor probably costs you, let's say, $200. We've already established spend maybe $80 on, a good docking station, wireless keyboard and mouse combination, and you get Bluetooth, let's just say $100. So we got $500, right? And we already say we spent $1,000 on the phone. Let's just say that. So right now you're at $1,500. Like, you at $1,500 to have pretty much 80% of a desktop and 100% of a phone. Like, think about that for a minute. You simply come in, you plug your device up, you sit it on your desk, you're presented with a desktop, and you still can do everything as far as social media, everything like that concerned on your phone as if you were sitting right in front of your phone. It's just a different interface. You still can save files. You still can do the whole nine. If you have a dock, not to mention, you can have an external hard drive plugged up to this. Trust me, I've tried it and it works. Or a thumb drive. And then you turn around and you're able to sit down and open up Microsoft Word, which you can purchase Microsoft Word if you have Office 365 on Android and iOS. And you're able to do Word documents. Or if you're in the Google atmosphere, which is most students now, they are switching over to Google Apps, you definitely can do Google Docs right here from it. You can plug up a printer to it. You can print. Like, this is literally a full desktop experience. And I know Samsung just released the S20s, and these phones have 8 and 16 gigs of RAM. Like, laptops now, phones have caught up to laptops. If you know anything about computers, you spend your money on your RAM, and phones have caught up to that. Now, I'm not saying that this device is going to replace, a computer for you if you're creating videos or if you're heavy into graphic arts or, anything that's processor intensive or anything like that. But what I am saying is 80%, I even say 90% of us out there can do what you need to do on your phone. Now, if you can look at it, $1,500 and you spend that on your phone, and most people now are keeping phones for more than 2 years or more than a year, and you get a desktop and a laptop and a phone for $1,500. Like, who wouldn't take that deal? And it's crazy because this is potentially an iPhone killer for Samsung, and it's like they're not even addressing it. Now, I did watch the Unpacked, and yes, there is some coverage coming on that, so stay tuned. Make sure, again, like I said, guys, if you're enjoying the podcast, please like, subscribe, share, do the whole nine, because I will be bringing additional content, and it's probably going to be episode 2 in this season. But the S20 is a phenomenal phone. It actually has great power, and like I said, it comes with 8 to 16 gigs of RAM. Those phones are starting at $999. Now, don't get me wrong, that is an expensive device. And then I think they go up to like something like $14.99. But if you look at it, and say, for instance, you're in the Apple ecosystem, and don't get me wrong, I love Apple. I have iMac, I have iPad, I have an iPhone for work, but I choose Android personally. You can pretty much spend what you would spend on a MacBook Pro or even a MacBook, and you can get the whole nine yards with Android. You can get a phone, you can get a laptop computer because your phone is always with you, and then you can also have a regular computer with you at home. Like, this is, I don't know why they're not advertising this. And like I said, in the Unpacked video, Samsung did mention this a little bit more. And you go to Samsung's website and you just type in Samsung Dex, you will start seeing Samsung put some more information out about this particular feature. And I don't know what took them so long as far as being able to do this, because now, like I say, even if you have a laptop computer, you can actually utilize this. But they are going after some businesses now, and they're going after, industry as far as commercial and everything like that. Like, they have some advertisement about what it looks like to be a banker with Samsung Dex, in healthcare, in retail, insurance, public safety, police officers, government, manufacturing. Like, this is something that is a big deal that I think they're finally starting to realize, like, hey, we're on to something. Now, when it first came out, don't get me wrong, it was horrible. It was slow. It had some features, but that's just like anything else. I mean, you have to have time for it to grow. And like, even on their website, they talk about productivity. They talk about creativity, and you can utilize some Adobe apps. Like, they have a Lightroom mobile. They have that pretty much can do about 80 to 90% as far as if you're an Adobe Creative Cloud subscriber. Like, literally, there is a lot that can be done. It's going to integrate into Citrix. It's going to integrate with VMware, AWS, and that is Amazon Web Services. Like, they are going all the way in on this. Now, don't get me wrong, Samsung does understand there is security, and they do have their Samsung Knox that actually is part of the whole Dex, situation here, a whole Dex software. So, I mean, I think this would be a good idea. I mean, like I said, phones are getting more expensive. People are starting to complain about paying $1,000 plus for these phones. And I think it softens the blow when you can say, hey, your phone does more than just being a phone. And I think a lot of people will like that, especially if Samsung started touting this as a feature. I mean, it's still $1,000 that you'll pay, but like I said, when you take a look at it, you're paying $1,000 for our iPhone. They're not picking on Apple at all. Don't get me wrong. I love their products. They make some of the best products in the world. The reason why I still have my iPad Pro first generation is because, honestly, it does everything that I want it to do. I mean, hell, it's pretty much my computer now. I have a computer for work, but that's my computer except for when I know I want to get into some video editing. Even more or less, I'm recording this podcast right now on my iPad Pro. So that can tell you what these mobile devices can do now. But you're looking at, this is if you bought $1,000 iPhone, or let's say even a $700 iPhone, you're still looking at $1,000 for an iPad Pro. And then with the adapters, which the new iPad Pros does have USB Type-C, which softens the blow, but you're still buying more than one device. Now you turn around here and you're looking at my S10. I can take my S10. I have a dock that's sitting on my desk. I can plug it right in and boom, I have a computer. And 90% of what I can do on my iPad Pro, I can do right here on my S10. The reason why I'm not recording this on my S10 right now is because I just prefer GarageBand and it's so much easier software related wise. But I'm pretty sure if I did some searching, I could find audio DAW that I could record from my microphone into the S10. And that's why I come back to the point. 90% of us can do 90% of what we're really wanting to do from these devices. And it's not like anymore where you have to have a computer to be able to print. You have to have a computer to be able to do photo editing or minor photo editing. Even with the iPad Pro, you can still do video editing. I'm pretty sure Samsung and Adobe is working on something where you can do video editing from your device. And they already have a feature out and already have software out doing it. 90% of these devices now can do way more than what we were able to do 2 or 3 years ago. And it's funny because a lot of people laugh. You have more computing power in your pocket now than NASA had when they first put someone on the moon. So I just want you to think about that right now. Like I said, it's so many instances that you can utilize this software. And I think Samsung, it would be wise for you guys to start really, really diving into that and putting that out there as a feature that a lot of people need to know about and can actually soften the blow when you go to say, hey, this phone starts at $9.99 or this phone starts at $12.99 or this phone starts at $13.99. Like I said, those still some hell of some prices, but at that point, when you look at it, I'm getting 2 devices, then it kind of softens the blow because your average laptop costs you what, $400 or $500. So you can kind of half that price and look at it as, well, at least I'm getting a desktop or a laptop and I'm getting a phone. So let me know, guys. Like I said, this is just the first episode. If you guys think Samsung is onto something with the Samsung Dex, by all means, let me know. We can start a discussion and we can go from there. If you think this is, it's just a gimmick, then hey, let me know that too as well. Like I said, this is the first episode of this season for the podcast. Please bear with me. We're trying to get the audio and everything set up right. So if this one doesn't sound quite perfect, I promise you, I'm definitely working on it. So again, guys, thank you so much for listening. Hope you enjoyed yourself. Hope you had a great time. And until next time, stay teched up.